period.
Question number 12, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Education and asks, does she stand by all her statements on education?
The Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, yes, including the statement that Budget 2010 delivers a substantial boost to education in a very difficult economic environment, with an additional investment of $1.4 billion over the next 4 years into early childhood education and schooling.
Moroney.
Supplementary to the Minister, Talafu Lava. Does she stand by her statement in Select Committee this morning that she did not receive advice indicating the likely extra dollar cost to parents of her cuts to funding for high-quality early childhood education centres?
Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, as I said to that member this morning, it is very difficult for government to anticipate the changes and the increases in fees that individual businesses might make. So that is the difficulty, that the early childhood centres are all individual businesses and they have a number of choices to make.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, while the general area was around the fees that parents pay, it was a very specific question about whether the Minister stood by the advice she gave to the committee this morning that she did not receive advice on the dollar amount. And sir, I can't tell from that answer whether she stands by that advice or not.
Because of I accept the supplementary question that was asked was there was no political statement or anything like that. I invite Sue Moroney to repeat a question so everyone can hear it and be absolutely clear what was asked. Sue Moroney.
Does she stand by her statement in Select Committee this morning that she did not receive advice indicating the likely extra dollar cost to parents of her cuts to funding for high-quality early childhood education centres?
The Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, as I said to that member this morning, I received advice on the changes to subsidies that the Ministry would be paying to early childhood centres and a number of choices that the centres could individually make, which may include increasing fees to parents. But the actual amounts of the fees that those centres charge parents is an individual decision that they make, and therefore the government has no idea what their decisions may make.
The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Did the papers she received show any range of possible fee increases to parents?
The Honourable Tolley.
Yes, and I haven't got the papers in front of me, but they may well show some anticipated if those centres did not make other decisions like changing the profile of their staffing, changing their hours, and making, there are a range of choices that those services can make, but they are individual businesses and they are their decisions to make.
Alan Peachy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the Minister stand by her statement that the government will invest $14.7 million over 4 years to align staffing in area schools for years 7 and 8 students?
The Honourable Tolley.
Yes, Mr Speaker, I do stand by that statement as per the primary question. Schools are required to provide classroom release time in line with their collective agreements, and area schools have struggled to meet these requirements for quite some time. This government supports the frontline services, and we have made this change to funding to allow those schools to meet their commitments.
Sue Moroney.
Does she accept the word of the Mangere Living and Learning Family Centre that their fees will increase by $20 to $25 per child per week? And if so, what effect does she believe that will have on Mangere families referred to in that letter who have up to 4 children in that centre?
The Honourable Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I have no reason to doubt Mangere, the centre in Mangere's costings, but I say again, this government is facing extremely difficult economic circumstances. The amount spent on early childhood has almost trebled over the last 5 years. without a commensurate increase in participation. These are individual businesses and they can make the decisions about how to implement these changes in discussions with their parents.
Sir Moroney.
To the Minister, what is the funding cut per 40-hour week for a child for whom the subsidy is cut by $1.51 per hour?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, given that the primary question was very broad, I'm happy to answer that if that member would care to put it in writing to me.
I think order. That's a perfectly fair question. Answer. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Is the Minister seriously telling the House she can't multiply $1.51 by 40?
No, that's right. Order. The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I am happy to answer that in writing if the member puts it in writing to me.
Supplementary question.
I believe there's one more. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
How can it be fair for a Mangere family to have their childcare fees go up by $100 a week when her salary went up by the same and that caused that cost?
The Honourable Anne Tolley.
Mr Speaker, I would say at the beginning that I have no responsibility for the decisions that that centre makes. However, I suggest that the parents at that centre talk to that centre about what they want. This is a service that is provided to parents. There are a number of choices that business can make. Staff turnover is 20 to 25%. They do not have to employ 100% teachers. They can change their hours and they can change the types of services that they provide. And what's more, they have almost 9 months in which to make those changes.
I believe the Labour Party has utilised all its supplementary questions today. Order. I call on, that does bring to a close questions for oral answer, and I